I had to make that decision when my son was quite young, that I really wanted to spend that time with him, and he was more important at that time than my career. So I had a bit of a break, but then he got to a point where he's very independent now at the big 13 years that he is. As a broker, I get to work with many lenders and I get to find a home essentially for my clients to go into.
How do you support women to become more financially literate?
Yeah, so through my own personal experiences, I've found myself in positions before where I wasn't in control of my own finances, and I've had to learn the hard way what that's like to try and kind of bring yourself back to a place of being empowered and independent with your finances.
Based on the work that you do as a mortgage broker, what are your thoughts on how we can fix the housing crisis?
Even I see sometimes government policy comes out and it's amazing, but it hasn't actually maybe spoken to the lenders to see if the lenders can do it that way. So for me, I think maybe the departments working together and looking for these alternative, outside the box, as you said, options that can deliver what we need to, but in a quality position.
What does it take to be a financially empowered woman? And what can financially empowered women do together to change the world? A shocking statistic is that around 400,000 women in Australia are at risk of homelessness. And the cause of this is the lack of education about how to build a financial foundation, starting even before we first enter the workforce and well into our retirement years. My name's Dion Payne, and I'm the founder of the Financially Empowered Women podcast. I'm passionate about ending homelessness, and as part of that passion, I chose to look at the systemic barriers that are causing homelessness for women in the first place. The Financially Empowered Women podcast is designed to bring you the best experts from around the world to increase your financial know-how and give you practical and women-specific tips to overcome the challenges you might be facing, such as how to negotiate a better salary, demystifying super, or how to navigate a separation and ensure the assets are distributed fairly. My role is to provide you with the best information out there to change your trajectory and become a financially empowered woman, because you deserve it, and the world needs you more than ever to own your worth and help others to do the same.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Financially Empowered Women podcast. My name's Dion Payne, and today I'm here with Teressa Fisk from Your Finance Broker. Welcome, Teressa.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Now I'm going to read a little bit about you. So, with over 25 years of experience in finance and business management, Teressa is passionate about empowering her clients to achieve their financial goals. As a senior finance broker and business mentor, she loves finding personalised financial solutions, empowering others, and building genuine relationships with peers and clients. So good to have you here.
Thank you.
So, Teressa, I'd love to hear from you. You've done a lot in the finance industry. How did you get started?
So I actually, I come from a family that was very much work orientated. So we kind of had our first jobs when we were probably about 12. And I worked in many industries, but mainly hospitality and retail. And I was always in management jobs, which was good. So I learned a lot of finance stuff through that way. But I really got into the finance industry because I wanted to get out of retail, and a job had come up in a branch, in a branch of one of the bigger banks. And I just thought, I'll just try it. I'll see how I go. But it actually was probably the best decision I've made in my career, because I spent 8 to 9 years with that lender, and they gave us such great opportunities to kind of work our way through each position. And I was very hungry for learning and information, so I would hang out with the lender and I'd hang out with the financial planner, and until I kind of started doing some work and training to become a home loan lender, and then I moved up to be a relationship manager for the high valued clients. So I've kind of always had that passion for it, but definitely starting with the bank was the best thing.
So that's fantastic. So even from a young age, at a young stage in your career, you were learning about finance and learning about business. How do you think that impacted you?
Oh, it was really good. To be honest, my personal finances, I didn't really start to manage properly until I started working at the bank and learning a lot more things there. But I definitely, I think managing retail stores and things like that, it was a great way to kind of learn how to, manage books and manage staff and pays and things like that. So it did give me a lot better of an understanding of how important finances are.
And now you have your own business with your finance broker. So what made you switch to that from a corporate career to working for yourself?
So I kind of had a bit of a break in between because I had my son, and at the time, the position that I was in, it really needed someone who didn't have a life outside that position. So I had to make that decision when my son was quite young, that I really wanted to spend that time with him, and he was more important at that time than my career. So I had a bit of a break, but while I was having that break, I was just doing different roles like cooking in a cafe, and I became a personal trainer, and I was doing all these positions that would actually that were flexible work-wise, so that I could be here for my son when he needed. But then he got to a point where he's very independent now at the big 13 years that he is. And so I just decided that I wanted to get back into it. And I had seen how broking was a lot different and a lot more flexible. There was a lot more opportunities. Whereas when you work with a lender, you can only really offer the products that they have. Whereas as a broker, I get to work with many lenders, and I get to find a home essentially for my clients to go into. Plus, that time that I had off, I was still having friends and family reach out to me saying, hey, what's the best, home loan to go with, and what's the best savings account? So even though I had a break, everyone else didn't.
And what were some of the challenges that you found, sort of setting up in business for yourself?
I think over the years, even that time I had the break, I actually did try to set myself up a few different businesses. So I probably had a little bit of a practice at starting a business, running a business. I sold a few businesses in that time, so I'd set them up and then on-sell them. So I had a little bit of practice trying to get things started. But I do remember in those early days with those other businesses, things like having the money to get started and not listening to, I guess it gets quite loud out there about having to have the best website and the best marketing and all of those things, whereas you can actually start yourself quite simply. I taught myself how to make a website. It wasn't the best website, but it was up there. um, and you can be quite savvy and set up very much on a shoestring budget if you need to. So I think that practice while I was working around my son, it really helped sort of prepare me for when I went out by myself as a broker, because I knew the things that I needed to do, and I knew that I needed to keep my expenses down until money started to flow in, which I think's I see a lot of my clients even now on my coaching side. I see a lot of people get caught in that trap of outlaying a lot of money, but they don't actually have a lot of money coming in. So yeah.
Yeah. So on that, because I know that, and you've just touched on the mentoring side, and You mentioned off camera that financial literacy is really important. So, how do you support women to become more financially literate?
Yeah, so through my own personal experiences, I've found myself in positions before where I wasn't in control of my own finances, and I've had to learn the hard way what that's like to try and kind of bring yourself back to a place of being empowered and independent with your finances. So a lot of the coaching that we do now is really about awareness of finances. It's everyone's individual money that they're earning. So of course, it's really empowering and important to know where that money is going, and it's important to know, what you're investing in, what you're spending it on, and what's coming in. And if you're in a partnership and one person is mainly wholly solely in control of that, if anything was to happen and that person's not there anymore, it can be quite a struggle. So I do see I have a lot of mums that come to me after separation and their partner looked after the finances, and now they've basically got to educate themselves on what they can do and how they can do it. So a lot of our coaching is around that piece of trying to educate, particularly women. I think I attract women probably because of my personal circumstances, but it's really just about having that knowledge of how powerful your money is and how that focus and independence of it all can actually help you to get to your financial goals, whether you're in a partnership or by yourself.
There was something that you said there that really resonated with me about knowing how powerful your money really is. I'd love to ask you the question, what does being empowered financially mean to you?
I think, I always come back to that independence word because that, for me, that was the most empowering thing for me once I learnt that I had that independence, and I had that power. Right now I've been a single mum for a long time, and to know now that I can manage my whole house by myself, can pay all my bills, fund all my son's sports, and do all that. Obviously, I have help from his dad, which is amazing, but essentially run a household by myself and be able to know that I can save and invest and still do those things. To me, that's empowering, and it means that I have the control over that, and it's not sort of being put in someone else's hands to have control for me. So if I want to go on a holiday or if I want to do different things, that's all on me. So it sort of brings that back to your own personal goals, whatever those goals are, and then you have the control with your own funds to be able to make them happen.
That's awesome. I think that's a really great definition. And it does come back to having that level of agency over your own life, so you can make those financial decisions for yourself. When you coach women and they come to you initially, what would you say are sort of three key steps that you take them through to become financially empowered with their finances?
I think really it's so everyone has a different story, as you know, like everyone has a different place where they're starting from. But I think just that basic understanding of the coming ins and going outs, I think that's some people. Love that they've got the money, but don't so much really want to know what's happening in the bank account because it's, out of sight, out of mind. So one of the main things is just to really have a look. Let's have a look at your bank account. Let's see what's going on, because that can actually really help as well. There's a lot of the times we see subscriptions there that we haven't used for a year. Or, it really highlights things that we might be doing a lot more of, like we might be eating out a lot or doing little things. And I think a lot of the times having to be able to review that, it definitely gives you back that power to know, oh, okay, I can stop that. I can stop this and I can save that money. But definitely we start off with what the personal goals are of the person that we're coaching. And usually then we just start looking at what that might look like, what that savings plan is, or what that goal is, and what steps we need to take to really reach that goal. But a lot of it is really just about that education piece. Taking the blinders off. I had blinders on for many years. Didn't want to look at anything that was going on in my bank account. But I was also living week to week on my paycheck. And I remember that feeling very well, and I don't ever really want to be there again. So I really, love to be able to empower people to also have themselves set up. So if they do have a bad week, which we all do, they know they've got a backup plan.
Yeah. Now, when we were off camera, you and I had a conversation about housing, and of course, the part of the reason that I set up the Financially Empowered Women podcast, and also Women for Homes, is because I see that homelessness is a really big, chunky problem, but it's also a solvable problem, and I'm really motivated to help solve that, and a lot of other women are as well. When I've looked at what some of the barriers are to creating more homes. Traditional construction is definitely a key part of that because it's labour intensive, it's weather dependent, and it's supplies dependent. So a little while ago we had a shortage of materials, and that really pushed construction back. The reason I mention all of this is because I know that you have a focus on modular housing finance, and there's a lot of challenges with that. So can you talk to some of the challenges, but also some of the benefits of building with modular housing and the financing of it?
Yeah, so I've been working in the modular space for 3 years now. I was lucky enough to have a friend that was working as an admin assistant in the industry, and she said, come in, and she told me all the barriers that they were having trying to help their clients with finance, and I could see ways that I could help. Over the years, I knew sort of a few different things that we might be able to do. And then I kind of started reaching out to other modular companies, knowing that they were probably having the same issue. So I'm very blessed now. I have a lot of modular builders refer their clients to me. And unfortunately, what I do see is, as always, government, lenders, and the builders, they all have their own beautiful agendas, but sometimes there's things missing in the middle so that it doesn't make the client experience or clients getting in their houses like we need. So, in this climate of housing shortage and housing crisis, there is definitely such a great opportunity for these modulars to be built faster, to go out to these amazing remote communities. I'm from North Queensland. I grew up in a small farming town, and the families want to stay together. They want their kids to build on their land, and these modulars can give them that option, but the lenders won't lend to do the modular because the land's not in their name. So there's so many different loopholes, or barriers, I should say, no loopholes. There's a lot of barriers that can stop people from being able to do these. But the people that we have been able to help, it has been amazing, because some of them are in places where they can't get builders because builders don't want to send a team of people out there for months on end to build a house. It's very costly for them to take a whole team 2 or 3 hours out of main towns. So these modulars can be built, within 12 weeks, some of them, and they can be taken, so within 16 weeks of having a contract, you can have a new house out on your land. And the clients can get the first home buyers grant with it because it's a newly built dwelling. So there's so many great opportunities to build our towns that are inland where people do want to stay, so that they don't have to feel like they have to come out, to other bigger towns to make a living or create families. So yeah, I definitely see them as a way of the future. And we've heard I've worked really closely with the lenders to get them to at least have a look at their policy, and we have had small wins. And I've seen recently one of the larger banks has made an announcement. We haven't seen a policy change yet, but it's definitely a positive for the future that, you know, it is being highlighted a lot more, and hopefully will just help us put more roofs over people's, you know, families, because that's really what it all comes down to.
Yes, absolutely. And I just think that my personal belief is that we can increase the supply of affordable and sustainable housing. But to do that, we need to think outside of the
Yeah.
box, and traditional construction isn't cutting it. So there's other techniques such as modular housing, 3D printing, and all of these have the ability to come online. But my question about the modular housing is, often when things are new, they can be quite expensive. What are you seeing cost-wise, and how does it, does the speed justify any additional cost?
Look, we're seeing a lot of different. There's a two-pronged thing to this question. So the builders that we work with, they have to be signed off by the QBCC. So they have to have all their licenses, you know, and stick to the same standard as builders, which I think is amazing. There has been a lot of environmental codes change recently, so we're seeing the modulars were sitting at a price point, but I am seeing them come up slightly, probably a little bit more in line with what a standard build is, but it's more the convenience and the timing of it. I'm also seeing an influx of um, modular builders come through that are sourcing materials from overseas, and some of them are covered by, you know, building standards, and some of them aren't. So we are seeing clients kind of fall into that trap of trying to find material that's a bit cheaper, or a builder that's offering a cheaper alternative, but the banks won't cover them unless they're covered, unless they're held to the same standard, which I absolutely agree to that, because I think if you're building a house, you want it to be a house that's, if you're paying a mortgage, you want the house to be standing for a long time. You want it to be a quality home.
Yeah.
And a lot of those building standards, as you know, are in place because of climate, you know, and the different things that Australia goes through, like floods, fires. So there's standards in place for a reason. So I am seeing a bit of a mix, but pricing wise, you know, you can pick up, you know, a 2 to 3 bedroom home for slightly less than what a standard builder can. So it's really just dependent on the builder. Some market themselves as a more prestige kind of modular, and then you've got the ones that are more like a cabin style. That are, so it's also about your personal taste, I guess, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've got a question for you. Based on the work that you do as a mortgage broker, what are your thoughts on how we can fix the housing crisis?
I feel that there's a lot of things. It's a very loaded question, but I feel that working all industries working together would be a great first start. So, you know, even I see sometimes government policy comes out and it's amazing, but it hasn't actually maybe spoken to the lenders to see if the lenders can do it that way. So for me, I think maybe the departments working together and looking for these alternative, you know, outside the box, as you said, options that can deliver what we need to, but in a quality, you know, quality position. And I really do think that education piece, in any sense, any kind of financial education, with building, with managing finances, I think they're really important, pivotal things to be able to help people get themselves into homes faster.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. Now, for anybody that would like to work with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so we have a website which is just yourfinancebroker.co. So it is CO. So you can head on over there. We have a few different options. Obviously, we do the finance consults for people who are looking to just get things in order and have a look at future planning. And then we do offer, finance broking for lots of personal home loan and commercial items. So yeah, the website has all the info there, and we offer like a free consultation to start with. So I love doing those because for one, I get to know my clients a bit better, but also sometimes a question that you might have is just a question and it might take 5 minutes. So, so I think having those consultations is really good because we get to know each other, and then I can kind of work out whether having a finance consultation is probably right for you now, or whether you are really in that space to start preparing to look to purchase your first home or your investment property or whatever it is. So you can pop onto the website and book in one of those consults, and then we get to know each other and we get to work out what sort of might suit you best.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And when you said that, it made me think of a conversation I had the other day with a girlfriend of mine who is looking to buy a home. She's got a fairly chunky deposit, $100,000 deposit. She's been working part-time, and her husband's just starting in his new career, so they're around that sort of $120,000 income. And she was feeling that she was really behind, and I was like, no, you've got lots of options. But to know that you're there to be able to have those conversations with people is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, and look, often we chat too. So we help families. We will help the mum and dad, and then they'll say, "I'm just going to send you my son because he's about to buy his first property." And sometimes we'll talk to the children a couple of years before they're ready. But it's just about knowing what they need to do to prepare themselves. And it's something that I wish I have had back then, because really I had to kind of learn from being in the bank. But I didn't find we had a lot of finance education in school or anything like that. So I really love those conversations because then I know down the track they've had that time to work on that goal, and they're ready, and it just kind of makes it all the more exciting for us as well because we've watched that journey happen.
Yeah, and it's about building those relationships and then being able to support people on their journeys as well. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Teresa, thank you. It's been lovely to have you on the show. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more from you. I think there's a lot that we can talk about, and I look forward to having you on future episodes.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you. I really appreciate it, and I love the work that you do as well, so thank you.
Pleasure.